So let me set it up real quick. So today we have a special guest host, George Passantino, my very good friend of a very long time, who's decided to join us today. Who's got a background I have to guess, and he's typing and it's coming through on the computer. And our, as always, we have the young Jake, who is now a professional and has a job. That is not just being a student at Transylvania and throwing hard fastballs. And the guest today is a guy. I'm going to tell the story, and then we're just going to go wherever it goes. Okay,
right.
So I'm on my honeymoon. Jake, I told you the story, Jake.
I think so.
Okay,
maybe.
Well, pretend I didn't. Okay, I'm on my honeymoon, and we go to this place out in the middle of Tuscany, and this place was legitimately Machiavelli's summer home, turned into a hotel. And this place is shit hot. Awesome. I mean, you've got olive groves, you've got
scenery.
So it's just unbelievable. You can see the Duomo off in the distance.
What year is this?
09.
Yes, 09. It's 09. Mm-hmm. Yes. So we go to eat dinner in the place there, and beautiful restaurant. We're sitting there, and there's this couple next to us, and we get set over in the corner, and we got this great little table, and there's this couple next to us, and they're speaking English, and they're obviously American because everybody else is either German or Italian, Russian, right? And so we start talking. This bunch is from La Jolla, and we're like, oh, sweet, and we start hitting them up. And then this dude walks in with his wife looking like $1 million. All right. Sits down, owns it, just like comes in with aura, right? Owning the joint, sits down, putting out this happiest vibe I believe I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my God.
And we struck up a conversation within 2 minutes. And the whole time I'm going, dude, I know who this guy is. I know this guy. I mean, I don't know this guy, but I've seen this guy, and it hit me who he was. And it took us about an hour. I don't know, maybe 2 hours. I mean, we hung out the rest of the night. We basically, our tables were all close enough. We were just like in one group. And it took us about a couple of hours before I knew that this guy was going to be my friend for the rest of my life. Forever. Period. So I introduce you to my honeymoon buddy, Alimi Ballard. It was my birthday the next day. We went out in Florence. We had the biggest time. We ended up, our buddies from La Jolla were at Enoteca Pinchiori. Remember that joint?
Ooh,
you remember that joint?
Yes, I do.
We go to this joint, and it's supposed to be one of the top 10 restaurants in the world. And we're just, and we're kind of like side pieces on this whole deal because the guy from Sam.
Yeah.
Sam was like running things.
He's connected.
Yeah. That's how he was in a tuxedo. We were not.
No.
But they let us in anyway. So here we are. Dude, good to see you. It's always a pleasure.
Always.
I thought beyond me telling that, the easiest way to kind of set up a conversation would be for you to tell Jake where you're from and how you ended up out here.
Tell Jake.
George.
All right. What up, Jake? How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Born and raised in New York City, in the Bronx specifically. Great family, raised by a wonderful woman who happens to think God is still on this earth to give me a hard time. So I'll take every day I get with my mom, and some beautiful sisters. And I held an older brother, but he was from my dad's side, and so he was always great. But he kept, he was never there all the whole time, right? So he would move and come back. My older brother David, God rest his soul, he's been gone for about 6 years, And I grew up in New York City. She's a regular guy, regular kid, and one of those extraordinary things that happened to me was at 16, I found the arts, and that's one of those things that really changed the trajectory of my life. And community theater group, doing plays in libraries and all that kind of good stuff. Community centers, super, super low, super, amateur, but the program was designed to get young kids off the street and give them something to do. You need something to do with all of that energy. And the place is called Mind Builders Creative Arts Center, Jake, and it's still there. It's a wonderful facility in the Bronx. And I got involved with doing plays and I hated it. No aptitude. Like someone like, oh, I picked up a guitar and I'm like, none of that nonsense. No fairy tale, nothing. What stuck with me was the people cared about young people, generally wanted us to find ourselves and find something. And that's an intangible, I'm too young, so it's going over my head. I thought they were touchy-feely, quick, people that just wanted to hug on kids. I was like, I don't hug, I was real standoffish. Yeah. They want to hug. I'm like, no. My mom doesn't hug me, so you're not touching me, But after a while, when we figured out they weren't weirdos, they weren't odd. They didn't have those nasty ulterior motives. They just were these people that cared about kids, and all bets were off at that point. That's where I hung out. I stopped hanging out in the streets. I stopped hanging out with my buddies out in Brooklyn doing God knows what. And you just there's a life waiting for you over there. And then, the arts takes you somewhere else. You get turned on. And it changed the course of my life, man. And I found acting. And after, a couple of years of doing it, the first time I was on stage in front of a room, an auditorium full of 8th graders, and I can get them to shut up long enough for me to get through my monologue, I was like, wow, there might be something to this. And it turned the light on. And then I got into acting professionally, the soap operas in New York in the early 90s, moved out to LA in 1996, the sitcom work, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and that resume is all online. And, I just found the arts, met my wife, and had some kids.
So that 8th grade auditorium moment, that was when the switch flipped for you?
It's a life moment for me, George. It's a seminal. Yeah. It's pivotal.
Was it you were like took command of the room? Is that what it was? And like all of a sudden everybody just stood up and noticed, or what?
I can explain it to you. I'll never forget it. It's those moments, it's like the first time you throw a fastball and you're like, they can't hit that. Like they can't hit it. Like if I throw it really good, they can't hit it. Holy shit. You're doing plays in elementary schools and you're not much older than the kids that you're performing for, and it's a matter of getting on stage and getting their attention because the plays they were so corny, but they're like, remember the after school specials on ABC? You guys are old enough,
Sure.
Yeah, after school specials. So it was kind of like after school special plays with issues that pertain to the young people in these inner city environments. And we were inner city kids ourselves.
Yeah.
But to get a auditorium full of 8th graders to listen to you takes like an act of God.
Yeah.
And the first I was an 8th grader once. I can
do. I'm not paying attention to nobody, And so I had a funny costume. I do my dance. I do my rap. And then I break into my monologue. And I'll never forget it. The room went silent. After I did my little dance, I did my little rap. I'm so-and-so. I'm here to tell you. Boom, 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 boom. Real super corny. This is 89. This is 1989. This is 1990. This is way before they're selling Cheerios with rap music. You know what I mean? None of that is on the radio. You know what I mean? It's like you had to wait late at night to hear rap music on the radio, right?
No, because around that time, if you remember, we were getting Yo MTV Raps on Saturday morning with Ed Lover and Dr. Dre. The original Dr. Dre.
I understand.
I remember that like it was yesterday. That was right around that time. But please continue.
I'm gonna put a pin in that, right? So I get on stage, I do my little thing, and the room stops, and the kids are genuinely interested in what this kid, only a few years older than them, was dancing about. I caught their attention, and so there's nothing like a group of kids going. And I was like, it was tangible. You're in the room. That's what live performers talking about. You're in the room and the audience goes, boom, And everything I said after that, Todd, George, Jake, they listened. And at that moment, I said, I had never commanded the attention outside of my family and my buddies of anybody, and it touched me in a way like I could communicate almost anything in this moment. And it made me start paying attention, learning my lines well, learning my little dance moves well, and the hopes that I could do that again. And the more often it started to happen, and I said, well, there's a connection between arts and being able to touch people. The light bulb went off.
That's great.
Right there.
So it's funny you mentioned about learning your lines, because I'll never forget. And again, I don't remember what role you were working on. And it doesn't matter because I'm sure it's not out of the ordinary. And I don't think I've told George this before, but you and I were talking about something and I was like, hey, and you were like, hold up. I have an audition in 4 days.
Yeah.
And I just got this audition today.
Yeah.
And he's like, and it is not, what I have to read is not easy. It's a lot in 4 days. I'm going to a hotel.
Oh my God.
Checking in by myself. And I'm going to be in there 24/7 for 4 days until I go audition for this shit, because I'm going to kill it. I don't remember what that was, but that wasn't that long ago. It was just before COVID. It was, I don't remember.
It might have been the last job I got. Giving your all, right? It goes back to how you're trained, and my acting teacher was an old dude from Cleveland, old black dude from Cleveland, Ohio, mean SOB, man, but he was detailed, impassioned, and he did not come for the shits. He did not think that we could not perform at a level that he deemed we needed to be at. You understand? And so he required of us to go all in. We had to read Richard Boleslavsky, Uda Hagen. He was an old school Shakespearean actor. So his training was intense. He wasn't like a commercial actor. Just try it, throw your hands at it. He made us learn. And so that discipline of giving 100%, there are no like dress rehearsals. When it's time to go, you go. And, what you might have heard, Todd, was me. The lessons he taught me stay with me right now. That flame, that passion, that excellence is a habit. It's not a one-off thing. Excellence is a habit. Excellence is a habit. Excellence is a habit. So make it a fucking habit to be excellent. And so I've never put that down. I think it's one of the only things that have allowed me to have longevity, in my chosen profession, period.
Well, what you just explained is also being a student. And and as long as I've known you, I don't think you've ever stopped being a student. You're always getting better. You're always looking to broaden your range. You're always looking to do all these things that, again, you talk about excellence. It's not just the thing. You're not born with that shit. I mean, that's not, I don't care what anybody says.
No. And even if you got it, excellence alone ain't enough. Being talented at something, it's not enough. The dude who was disciplined, the lady who was disciplined will beat you into the ground, because that's the marathon. That's what gets you there, not a stroke of luck. Even if you hear it all the time, even if you happen upon something wonderful, if you don't have the discipline, you can't hold it. You won't be able to hold on to it. It'll go through your hands because you haven't developed the skill sets, man, to engage it, to try to grow whatever it is you're looking at. So that has been one of the earliest things, and it's in your control, which is great. It's not what somebody does for you. It's in your own wheelhouse. When you wake up, how hard you grow, how hard you push yourself, you own that. Arthur Ashe, I love his one of his quotes, you know what I'm saying? Start where you are, do what you can. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Like the recipe for greatness, and before anything comes from outside, you start right in there, man. It's helped me forever, and it still does.
Well, you can't discount attitude on that, because I mean that's one of the things that I've told you over and over and over again that you know I fight negativity boiling up in me. I fight it, and if I'm ever fighting it hard, I just call you up and be like, just talk to me for a minute, dude. Let's just me and you just hang out and just talk for a minute, just so I can just get, it's amazing. It is amazing. As much as I've been around you, I never hear you're always, and again, that doesn't mean you don't struggle. It doesn't mean you don't have challenges. I mean, but you're always coming with light to a situation. And that's, I marvel at that. I absolutely marvel at that because I can't, like I'm trying, and I'm getting better all the time, but
I'm going to talk about you.
Where does that come from? I mean, how do you do that?
I'm going to talk about how great you are in a second. I'm going to answer your question fuck you. I'm going to talk about how great you are in a second. Okay.
Can we skip that part?
Yeah. Nobody likes to hear that shit. You're just like me. You can't take compliments. You know what I mean? It's so hard to hear.
That's true.
People.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'll get to that. That's another story.
I guess more specific, what I'm asking, is that cultivated? Is that natural? Is that a combination of that? Is that, you know what I mean?
I can answer.
Yeah.
It's a combination of natural disposition and bad experiences. My natural disposition, I'm generally sunny, right? I have a lot of energy, I'm generally upbeat. That's just, you're tall. You got that. You don't got to work on that. You know what I'm saying? You're good at math. You're good at numbers. It's not going to get you anywhere unless you use it, mind you. But it's something that you're kind of born with. My bad experiences when I have opened the door to my dark side, to my more ugly nature. I have found it so destructive, Todd. Like, I feel like it's a thing that if I ever gave it the driver's seat, we all got the thoughts in there.
Well, but we've all got the beast in there.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's like Peterson talks about, you've got to be capable of very bad things and know how to control it.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't acknowledge that within you and acknowledge that it takes work to get that under control, you end up like these broken kids who do awful, awful things.
Yeah. Yes. You have to, they're all in there. And some people more than others. I don't discount that.
Right. The disposition,
it's harder for some people to work on it. The times of my life, and this is, being completely transparent, where I have let my, that nature in the driver's seat, because it's a decision, when you get old enough, I decided to go with that impulse. You can't take back everything you do.
No.
You can't fix everything you break. You can't apologize your way out of shit. It's burned to the fucking ground. And the times that I have let fear control my actions, to me anyway, the after effect has been catastrophic.
It's always fear, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, underneath it is fear.
Yeah.
It comes out as anger, it comes out as rage, it comes out, I'm gonna throw this dude off a cliff, you know what I mean? It's like, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think these thoughts, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't go to that club when you know what you want to do. Just don't do it. And the times, listen, the times I have never been, I'm only ashamed of two things I've done in my life. You know what I mean? And they were words that I did.
Yeah.
Only two things. A shame. Where I'm like, well, if I could go back in time, I don't know what I learned out of it. You know what I mean? I would just undo it.
Right.
Only, like, everything else I could be like,
well,
I learned.
That's a pretty specific thing, right?
I would just undo that. I would just go back. I would erase that off the fucking board. That's a bad thing. And it's words. And I want my hands words. And I'm
maybe what you learned is you'll never do some shit like that again. Maybe you learned that. Maybe you had to do it to learn it.
Ever.
Yeah.
Well, I I'm glad that I have a modicum of intelligence to learn from my actions. And that's also, I'm not as hard-headed as I look. And that's pretty great. You know what I mean? My mom did a good job, you know, of also keeping me humble. And, you know, my mom was, you know, hardcore, man. She said, boy, you better pay attention. You don't got enough time to make every mistake.
Well, and you know, you think about it, one of the really scary things is the difference between a good outcome and a horrible, devastating outcome. It's a teeny tiny margin sometimes, like little incremental decisions that you in the back of your mind say, you know, this probably isn't a good idea, can turn out to be really devastating for folks. And you hear about these stories tragically on the news regularly where, you know, you hear the story of somebody who generally led a good life that did something that's just
in an instant, George.
And it's in an instant.
Yes.
You know, and that's scary. I mean, that really, you know, you talked about, you know, kind of discipline, you know, disciplining yourself. But also, I mean, in the same vein that, you know, life is precious.
Yeah.
It's another word for precious is it's fragile and delicate, and it can get fouled up real quick, real fast.
Do you know how many times I've thought about this idea of not necessarily the concept, the specific of my life, how many times, and how many instances I've looked back and said, how the hell did somebody not die?
Yes.
I mean, like, how the hell did I not die in that moment, in that deal?
Yes.
That's insane. And how, why did I choose to put myself in that situation? And it's by the grace of God, there isn't an obituary
alone. The grace of God alone.
Hey, listen, man. I look at that so many times. I think about I was at a friend's wedding who I grew up with, and his sister was kind of like a sister to me. And there was I've told you this story, Alimi, and there was some shit going on, and it was getting on my nerves. There was some shit going on adjacent to me and my being that was really getting on my nerves, but I was just kind of getting quiet, which if you guys know me well enough to know, if I get quiet, there's a problem.
That's weird. Yeah.
There's a problem. and she comes over and she goes, let's dance. And I was like, yes, absolutely. Let's go do that. Right. She's like 5, 6 years older than me. This is, 15 years ago. And we're dancing, and I keep side-eyeing this damn commotion going on over here that I'm just like, God damn it. God damn it. And she looks at me and goes, and she looks at that, and she looks at me, and she looks at that, and she goes, you're doing pretty good.
You're doing good.
She goes, I got a question for you. I was like, yeah. How are you sane? I was like, there must be a God.
Yeah.
There is no other explainable reason why I'm not walking around with a screw loose.
Yes. Yes. And I love that, man. George, Todd just gave, biographical evidence of this thing you just said, you know what I mean? Where you're right there. Like, do I pick that thing up and put it in my hand? Because I'm being metaphorical, but I've been in situations where do I put that in my hand? Do I pick that up? And it feels like the whole world is on a choice. If you touch this thing, it has a weight and gravity in and of itself. Don't touch it. Don't go in that room, bro.
It's that old comedic bit where you got that devil on your shoulder.
Yes.
That is real, dude.
There's nothing metaphorical about that, you know?
Okay. Well, that's funny because that'll give me a good segue to get into some shit to talk about here, because you sent me this Ed Milet podcast the other day. And we're constantly sharing little videos, and some of them are stupid dog videos, but most of them are things that have a little meaning behind them or something. And I sent you something and you're like, holy shit, you have to watch this or you have to listen to this, because it was on YouTube. I just listened to it. And it was with Dr. Joe Dispenza. And that shit blew my mind. It blew my mind for multiple reasons. I'm not sure I'm going for the idea of curing spinal columns with my brain. Mm-hmm. I'm not rejecting it out of hand either.
Right.
So, okay. However, the rest of it, the entirety of the rest of it was just like buzzing through my head the whole time. Georgia, did you listen to that shit today?
Yeah, it's genius. I mean, it's I listened to the whole program.
Okay.
It's genius. I mean,
I also took a listen. That was good stuff.
Well, you're talking about mind control. It's all mind control. Okay. And so much of what we talk about, getting functional control of your emotions and things like that. But when he talked about looking at emotions, keeping me anchored to the past, it's like when you, and the things that you do that self-sabotage and things like that are all about a feeling of something you had before in your life coming forward. I was like, holy shit, that is 100% true in every instance that I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing.
Yes. When I sent you that, I was driving to pick up my kid at a debate, tournament down in Palos Verdes, right? And my wife sends me all of the great stuff. She just sends me all of the great stuff. She said, I think this, like, you're trying to say, read, listen, grow, change, right? So every now and again, I'll read one of them. I'll listen to one of them. So and I listen to podcasts, and I do work on myself. And I've heard Joe Dispenza, and I've kind of flirted around with some of his stuff. And I love Ed Milet, right? His voice speaks to me. His energy is, that's me. That's it. Just, I get a charge from it, And so just Dispenza comes on his podcast, and he has a soft voice. He's a scientist and a wizard. But when he starts to talk, what he shares is life altering. The bridge between science and spirituality, how, changing your belief system. He's equating your belief system to these fired synapses and neurons. Your belief system is also in your body, in your synapses and your neurons that are fused together based to trauma. And when they tell you to get your mind together, change your mind, someone says, change your mind, you're literally talking about, he's telling you, you do change your mind, the fabric of it in here.
Absolutely.
You wired and doing the same emotional choreography, the same emotional pains in different versions for the remainder of your life until
he said, creating the same experiences to remain the same self. So you've got this familiarity with these habits that you do,
bro,
that you even know are destructive habits, but you create them because they're familiar.
Dude, and you're not conscious. He says you think, but you don't watch what you think. Write it down. The moment you become the observer of what the fuck is crawling through your skull, it's the moment you become the observer and you come off automatic pilot.
I have told young Jake here no less than 100 times, your brain is a fucking liar.
Yes, it is.
You better get a hold of that thing and not believe the bullshit it tells you.
And I love that he's like, you're creating, you're just creating on automatic. And people who have great powers of manifestation in their lives to change their life, they just come off automatic pilot and they start to reprogram their belief system, their mind, their deep feelings and thoughts, and they clear that shit out. And they start replaying the time that dad beat their ass at 12 of them, and they get into that.
But they also exploit that power of the body to create patterns.
Yes.
There's a wonderful book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. He talks about this. Yes. It's an awesome book. The opening talks about somebody who had severe brain trauma and would wander down the street, and they'd think the person would get lost, but they would always find their way back to their house. And they even asked them to draw a map, and they didn't know how to do it. And so they learned that the habitual patterns that our body develops to make our lives easier can lead you to do bad stuff over and over and over again. But you can also use that power to do good stuff over and over again and create good autopilots.
Yes.
As opposed to autopilots that are always, not always helpful.
That are attached to your trauma.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So it's, like getting out of that pattern and, being not an autopilot, but being the pilot directly.
Well, okay, it all goes, in my mind, it all goes back to James Allen, and it all goes back to As a Man Thinketh.
Yeah.
Almost all this stuff all this goes back to that book. I mean, which is, you are what you think. You will manifest, whatever your mind thinks about, that's what you will manifest. That's what you will do.
Yep.
And
That's what you will attract to yourself.
And I love how Joe Dispenza, brings that to modern thought. At what you think, conscious is emotion, and an emotion is what powers you, what has you relive it, what has you attract it. He's like, your thoughts will move the emotions, and the emotions will keep you trapped, and the emotions will have you looking at a situation that has nothing to do with what happened before through the lens of what happened to you before. So you're not even, it's like making a bad pass. You're being a basketball game, You threw it out of bounds for no good reason. You missed the guy, and you're just trapped. You can't move to the next possession. You got to let that shit go.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about the screw up you just made, this game was already over. You have lost.
Yeah.
You got to get to the next possession. You got to forget about that shit. That was the first half. We're in halftime. We got to come out there brand new. You got to forget how you fucked up, what happened to you, what they did to you. You got to get in there and say, okay, that shit was fucked up.
Well, you said becoming the observer.
Yeah.
And I don't remember in my life where I actually became an observer. I think it was, again, I think I came across James Allen. I came across a couple of books where I was like, wait a minute, man. Yeah. And what he said was, when he was given some direction, he said, what I want you to do is just stop for a moment and think about what you think about.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good way of putting it. I mean, because it's one thing to observe, but it's another to ponder it. It's another to think, okay, at the very least, this ain't good.
Yes.
This isn't, we should reconsider the situation. And it's always, the old deal. If you like what you're getting, keep doing what you're doing. But if you're not, most of these things boil down to whatever's flying around in your head that you have no control over. And so thus the mission has to be get control of that shit.
Yes.
And make it do different. I think that's the thing where the disconnect happens for most people. It's one to be like, oh, wow, there's some shit flying around in there. But you got to believe, because it's true, that you can get control of that. And
there you go.
Make it do what you want it to do. You can make it do what you want it to do.
1991, young kid, still teenager, and there was this program with the same youth group, and it was called World Leaders 2001, but this is 1991, so a 10-year, kind of looking forward. And they took us away for the weekend, and a lot of these people were trained by the Forum. I'm sure you guys probably heard of the Forum, so kind of think outside the box kind of stuff. And in one of these weekend seminars to get the kids, they talk about conflict resolution, how to not fight instantly, how to try to think your way through it without reacting emotionally. One of the things that I walked away from that helped change the way I thought, and they talked about your brain being like a gate. This reminds me kind of close to what, I'm reading and discovering and reaffirming with Joe Dispenza. And the guy that leads in the sermon, I think his name was Byron Johns. He was like, what you allow through your mind, what you allow through that gate will determine your life. But you got to look at that gate. And what do you believe? What are you allowing in there? And if you can stop believing that you're not nothing, that you're worthless, that you're not going to go anywhere in life, put something better through that gate. You can. It's possible. Like literally rewiring. They weren't saying rewire your brain because that shit would have went over my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sure.
Right.
That wouldn't have tracked with the teenager I was. But they were like, what you believe, what you let through the gate of your mind is what you become. And stop letting things through there that debase you, that pull you down. Put something in there. And if you can do that, you can go anywhere. And I remember going, I'm gonna try that. That was in 1990. No, like, you know, I don't know. I'm gonna try that shit.
Better than what that's probably better. I'm gonna
This
do
is
that.
1991. This is when it really starts to change for me as a young person. When you start
so
to
you were
examine.
like a junior, senior in high school, same as me, because we're the same age.
Yes, we are. Yeah, no, I just know 91. I had just gotten out. I was, I think.
Right. You probably
just
because
gotten
I
out,
was a year behind. I was a year behind. I was a senior in 91. Yeah.
Yeah, I had just gotten out. You know, you're looking at, you know, didn't get to any colleges. You know, you're just sitting around holding your nuts. You know, trying to figure out, you know, what you're going to be in life. What's going to come of your life. And that
so
seminar.
at that point, did you have a vision? I mean, did you have a vision of what it is you thought? Because that's what he talks about next. He talks about, let's see, how you think and how you feel create your state of mind, your vision of the future versus memories of the past.
Yes.
Vision of the future is thoughts. Memories of the past is feelings.
Anybody went to a boxing coach? You got trained how to box?
Sure, yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Now say you're a scrub, like you can't throw a solid punch. What
that ain't
is
me, but I can imagine.
Okay, cool, great. All right, well, all right. That's how I started, right? So, what does your trainer call you? He calls you. What does he call you?
Chump. No, I'm just kidding.
He
calls me kid. He calls me
champ.
kid.
He calls me
champ. Right. Champ.
But like that's programming.
Yep.
Try to consider the fucking possibility that when you walk out of here, you're gonna be a beast. What's going on, champ? You'd be like, I suck. I know that, champ. Get him up. He keeps seeding you, champ, to change your thinking about yourself. It starts right here. They know once you got enough skill set, any fighter is about, they say it's about heart. I mean, at a certain skill level, it's going to mean there's mechanics, but it's going about what dog wants this fight, who believes, who wants it more. And they start, and these are subtle programming techniques to get you to think about yourself differently. He calls you champ and you suck until you start getting better, until you start believing, shit, maybe I can be something. Maybe I can do something. And you start calling yourself champ. And then you start looking at yourself and demanding of yourself what you think a champ should be, a vision.
A vision, yeah.
You start a champ. I can be
see
a champ.
I can see that.
And then you start denying everything that disagrees with that. You're not going to make it. Fuck you. I'm going to make it. I'm a champ. You start battling in there.
What was it Napoleon Hill said? Whatever man can think or believe, whatever man can conceive or believe, he can achieve.
Yes, he can.
Yeah.
You conceive it. You see it. I conceive it. I see it.
As a man thinking.
I believe it.
Yes. That process. And you begin to reprogram the thoughts that are in there. And there's so many young people don't even know what's in there. But sometimes you have these wise people, these wonderful people.
Well, so many kids, man, are just dealing with so much shit. You know, just so much shit. I mean, look,
that they shouldn't have to deal with, bro. Go ahead.
True.
Absolutely. Right. But because I want to meet people where they're at, no matter what the situation is. But the circumstance is a circumstance, right?
Yeah.
The circumstance is the circumstance. And no matter how shitty the circumstance, and you grew up in some shitty circumstances.
Yeah.
At points, you had some shitty circumstances at points.
Yeah.
We've all had some pretty shitty circumstances at points.
Get in line, take a number, my mom would say.
Right. It's like that's where you are. That's where you have to start.
Right there.
Because it doesn't change. It doesn't change that odds are good that all that shit's causing a lot of shit to be flying around in your mind that's not going to work toward anything good.
Yeah.
And then if you can see a better future. Go ahead, George.
Well, and that voice, you talk about the devil on your shoulder, right? That voice shows up in lots of different ways. And in fact, the way we talk about ourselves, we are the most brutal, harsh, ugly, disrespectful people to ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, I heard somebody say one time, you know, if you were walking down the street and the type of person, you know, that you walk by that you had no interest in whatsoever, that you even despised, right? Your worst enemy said nasty, nasty things about you. you wouldn't give those thoughts really much weight because it was somebody that you didn't believe, right? Or you didn't care for their opinion. We say those very same things to ourselves and take them at face value. And so that's a really toxic self-assessment that we do.
Yes.
That, again, it weaves those patterns that we're stuck in. And so you have to, not only do you have to constantly work, and I struggle with it every day, to try to create patterns that are positive, but also remind yourself that voice, in your brain, as you said earlier, don't believe the bullshit, because a lot of times it's bullshit and it's ugly and it's wildly unhelpful.
And very often, George, you didn't create it. It was given to you by your circumstances, by your mama, your daddy, your uncle, whoever was raising you at the time, your foster mom. You were kicked around through foster home. All of these thoughts about yourself, you didn't make them up in the crib at 2 months and 12 months. Right. They were given to you. They are the thoughts of the world, of the fucked up world you're born into. And then you got to get in there and go, okay, it's not my fault, all the shit that happened to me. It is my responsibility to change it. It's not my fault that at 4 or 5 XYZ, that at 12, 13, 16 XYZ, you didn't do any of that shit. You weren't in charge.
You got taken advantage of.
Yeah, you got shitted on. So that's just a fact. You got to be able to call it what it is. You didn't create any of the shit you was born into. But if your life is going to go somewhere, you're going to have to make your bones with it and take yourself where you want to go. That is your responsibility, because everything that got shitted on you, that's still your life. And you have to get in there and fight the dirty fight if that's your story. And if you had a great life and a great, awesome time, and they all loved you and they told you you're beautiful and you're going to be a star your whole life, then great. Yeah. Awesome. Keep doing that. That's great.
Well,
as it should be.
But we all know if somebody told you that you're so awesome your whole life, odds are good that the first time you come across some hard shit, you're going to fold up like a cheap suit. But that, what is this? No big deal.
Resistance. Oh my God. They yelled at me.
You should have seen what happened to me when I was 12. So, okay. So this is a good segue into the next part of what he said, because I took 2.5 pages of notes, George. I'm sorry. I'm on page 2 though. The best way to predict your future is to create it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It seems so obvious when you say it. I mean, it just seems so obvious, but putting it that way, I mean, it's a pretty predictable thing. There are strategies and pathways and ways to get where you want to go that exist. There's information everywhere that can help you do it. You just have to see the idea of doing something better than what you're doing, but fully formed, right? You see yourself in the role.
Yeah.
You see yourself in the scene. So like, I know every winter, I know it's getting close to ski trip time. Okay. And when he said this, I thought of this. And for the 2 weeks before we take that, 4 or 5 day trip to Mammoth, all of my downtime just in thought is imagining skiing that entire fucking mountain.
Yeah.
And I mean, I see it. Yeah. I feel it. And by the time that day comes, I'm up at 2:30. Yeah. I'm in the car by 3 and I'm locking in first chair at 8 o'clock. 5 hours on fire.
Yes.
To get, like running in to take a piss 3 hours in and running back out and getting the car and going. Yeah. And it's all because I've seen it over and over and over and over again. And so it hit me. Why can that not apply to anything? That can apply to anything.
Yeah. Literally. You, when coaches work with sports teams and with young people and with adults, you create a vision for what we're going to accomplish. And they ask you to see it. Like athlete training is so specific. Yeah. They really lock into it. We kind of get wishy-washy when it comes to changing our emotional history and who we are as people outside of a specific discipline. But that athletic discipline, they ask you to see it. See the shot going. Close your fucking eyes.
See it
Feel your
happening.
body.
See it
See it happening. They're wiring their brain. They're wiring their nervous system to fire their body under a given set of circumstances. And then see us winning. See it. It's not going to happen by luck if you don't believe. And if you see it, you develop faith. You develop an unshakable will that come hell or high water. We're giving everything to
Well,
that.
if you see it and you put in the work.
Listen.
Right. Because that always has, it's like I heard somebody say the other day, who was it? Somebody was bagging on the book Think and Grow Rich. And they said, yeah, man, you just sit around, you think about it, you get rich. I was like, well, you obviously didn't read that fucking book.
Yeah, didn't read the book very well.
You did not read that book, because that's not what that book says.
The most efficient service, the most efficient quantity, the most efficient quality possible that you can possibly give. That line in that book, and I'm quoting it.
I'll do it for free.
Yo, that part,
and I'll do it better than anybody else, and I'll go the extra mile.
Eric Thomas, is also a motivational speaker. You're getting all in. It doesn't happen if you don't give. When you can give your soul, when you go all in, you burn your ships behind you.
Yep.
This gets it going. This really changes. You put a high emotional value on what you want for your life. To heal your childhood trauma, to build whatever it is you want to build. That's the energy when the thoughts, the ideas, when you decide that you're going to say no to those voices that come up and tell you you're not going to do it. Why would it happen for you? What makes you special? Fuck you. I'm going to do it because I said so. I'm like, you gotta have ammo in the clip. But everything that's going to come for you.
He said, what thoughts do I have to stop thinking or choices I need to stop making? Write every one of them down. I was like, I've not.
That was a mind blow right there.
I never heard that before.
He wants to pull you out of automatic. So you see him coming. He's saying, I want you to see the enemy coming so you can stop that motherfucker when he tries to get in the gate.
Well, go ahead, George. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's kind of it's almost the opposite of a lot of what you're told to do. Write down your visions, write down the positives. But that program actually said
just ignore that over there. Yeah.
The most important part is the negative stuff, so that you can getting out of autopilot. The part of that Dispenza program that really was eye-opening to me was when it said that the mind really has only two sources of knowledge: experiences and kind of visions of the future. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't distinguish between the two.
Well, if you think about it, that's 100% true.
And that's that quantum physics realm. So he starts to go
exactly.
with you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, George. Yeah.
No, but I mean, to me, that's really powerful because, again, if you've got this negative programming that you're living around, and we all have it.
It manifests itself. It manifests itself.
It's on automatic. The positive thoughts are not on automatic pilot. That's what he's saying. If you had the positive thoughts on automatic pilot, you wouldn't be listening to his podcast. What you do have on automatic pilot is all the negative shit.
I'm not enough.
Honestly, I think the people that have a constant flow of the positive thoughts, they're probably delusional. I mean, that's not a very natural state. Our minds are designed to find problems.
Yeah,
our minds keep us safe.
Right.
Yes. So I think naturally we're negative of ourselves, but that doesn't mean that it leads us. It may keep us safe from a lion in the jungle.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily going to equip us for the dangers and threats and problems that we deal with today on a day-to-day basis.
He's what I took away from it: train your mind to feed you the positive. You already have the negative assault, and it's on automatic.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you to consciously get in there, see those bastards coming, pardon my French, stop them at the gate and put in there what you want to be, your vision. And then when that gets on automatic pilot, Your life, you start to believe, you have faith, you get up early, your discipline sharpens up because you can believe you can attain it. You can change. And all of a sudden, all that energy moves you in the direction that you want to go, and not where you don't want to go because you haven't been listening and minding the thoughts that you've been thinking.
Well,
right.
So I'm gearing myself personally right now to trying to make sure that I don't let myself have any excuses.
Yeah.
For anything that is less than getting maxing this thing out, just maxing it out. Because, but if you think about writing all that shit down, that is a no excuse maneuver. Because if you've done that work and you write all that stuff down, and there it is, you've removed your excuse.
You back yourself into a corner
for it being in there.
Yeah, brother.
It's like at that moment, it's like, well, I don't have any excuses to keep doing that shit. It's like when I was taking therapy, however many years ago that was, and a long time ago, and my therapist, Dr. Lori Johnson, I think she's in Sherman Oaks now. She's awesome. She said we kind of had a little breakthrough on a thing that was obvious was causing me a problem.
Right.
That was just like all this stuff that we talked about. And she's like, well, you know what this means? And I was like, because we were both like, that's literally why I do that. That's so stupid.
Right.
She goes, you know what this means? What?
Yeah.
You don't have any excuse for doing it now. Because you know the reason you're doing it is so stupid.
Yeah.
So I've always thought about that. Remove those excuses, man.
Yeah.
My son suffers from anxiety every now and again, right? Yep. And I realize that he gets the shit from me. I know it's fucked up, right? I know. I was like, wow. I'm like,
I have a very similar situation in my household.
It's okay. From me, I was like, God dang it! I gave him the cooties, you know what I mean? But like, and then and I realized, what my coping mechanisms were, and I was like, oh, but I didn't have any coaches. My mom was hard worker, but she didn't have the time. She wasn't sitting there. All right, baby, are you nervous? That wasn't the environment I grew up in. You know what I mean? Not that she didn't have the capacity. This was no fucking time for all that shit. You need to, like as you say, Todd. We repeat with this. You just say in our house, get your shit dialed in. You got your shit dialed in. Go. I love you, and I haven't gotten back to how much I fucking adore, appreciate. No bullshit.
I know, dude.
Yeah. Appreciate and love the human that you are, bar none. So that aside, bar none. My son, anxiety, and I realized he got this shit from me, man. And my coping mechanisms were, like I told you, I locked myself into that hotel room, that story. My coping mechanism was to over prepare. That was how I transmuted that energy into something positive and didn't let it become debilitating. And in the areas of my life where I couldn't get a hold of it, I would just procrastinate and not look at a bad thing. At the places where I can get a hold of it, I would lock myself in that hotel room because it's so much I'm scared. I'm like, throw me off the building. Throw me in the fire. I will chop this shit up until I got it sorted. And I will cut out all my distractions until I manage it. And in the parts of my life where I didn't have the wherewithal, the understanding to approach it that way, won't look at it.
It doesn't even exist.
Run from it.
Doesn't even exist.
Bro, and it was watching my kid work with it and help him work with it. And I'm just looking, I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm looking at myself. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Oh shit, I gave him. No, I didn't. But like, I go through the same. I was like, I did this to him. But he's got my anxiety. I'm so sorry.
I do the same thing with Brody.
Yeah,
all the stuff, everything. Brody's anxieties are all my anxieties. 100%. They're everything. I acted just the exact same way as a kid. 100% across the board.
Why I love being a father. Why I'm sure you love Todd. You are in a unique position to get your boy sorted, to have compassion.
I'm fucking trying, dude.
It's
like
I
don't want him to go through what I went through. I just don't.
I'm willing to walk through hell with and for my son.
That
back
doesn't mean
every day.
let me say, that doesn't mean I'm not trying to make him work to earn that. I mean, because you got to earn that. I mean, I can't just take that away from you. I can say, look, son, here's how that's going to manifest itself.
Right.
Here's what that's going to turn into.
Right.
And it's a lot harder if you do this other thing over here, but that's what you got to do.
Right.
It's what you have to do.
Yes.
For you and for everybody that you'll come in contact with in life, if you can do that. But God love him. He's got his mother's sweetness. He's the sweetest kid.
Yeah.
And he's,
so am I. They get it from their mama. They sweet as the day is long.
They
man.
are. You've got the sweetest kids, dude.
And we stand in the breach with them. You know what I mean? If those demons are getting at you, I'm like, you come get me. I ain't scared of them demons. Let's talk it out. You tell me what they telling you. That hands-on approach, man, to know that you're never alone in there. Sometimes I feel like I'm alone in there, but let dad be your therapist. Tell me what the boogeyman is telling you, because fuck that motherfucker. No, fuck him.
The rush of chemicals associated with our reactions, i.e. problems, is addictive.
Mm-hmm.
Attention shifts from one problem to another.
Mm-hmm.
It's what keeps you there.
Mm-hmm.
You have these emotions associated with your problems,
with your past,
with your and that your past bubbling up, and it's addictive.
Mm-hmm.
It releases chemicals that make you keep coming back to it.
Yes.
That's fucked up. Your body's working against you.
Yes, it is.
But if you know that,
you shifted the driver's seat.
If you know that, that removes some excuses.
Yes. It makes you conscious. You're used to losing. You're used to feeling worthless. You've been doing it for 3 decades. You're used to feeling stupid. You're used to feeling and believing that you can't make a difference, that you're ugly, that no one's going to fucking want you. Now, after 3 decades, that shit's pretty hardwired into your thinking, into how you act and how it feels in your body. So the moment you start to be, to change that, you have this mountain against you of consistent behavior, thinking, and feeling, but it's the only work to do in your life. And to say, that's my comfort zone, coming in last. That's my comfort zone, coming and getting close, but never getting. And what usually changes is your why. And I love by Eric Thomas for this. Your why. What's your why?
Yeah.
What's your grandparents would say? Once you change, get your mind right, boy. Once you get good and tired of something, son, good and tired of something, you're done. You ever been done with a thing?
That's when real change happens.
Bro, when you get done with a thing, George, and you're like, so I don't give a fuck no more.
It's funny you say that, because I've got a great segue.
Yeah. When you don't give a fuck no more and you're ready to go for it, I'm ready to change. So I've been beat enough. And when you get to that point, you are willing to risk it all, at all your comfort, everything that makes you feel good in the back, and you're ready to go for it. That's always a great day for a person, because at that point, I believe they are at the beginning of being unstoppable on changing that thing. That's worked for me.
So this transition that I'm personally going through right now, it's been going on for at least a couple of weeks. So I know I'm in it because I haven't let up for 2 weeks now, and I have no lack of energy associated with it.
Yeah,
I'm really focused at the moment. And I was talking to a buddy of mine day before yesterday. Blair knows him, Blair. I just said his name. I was talking to Blair the other day, George, I didn't want to out him on this, but I don't think he listens, so he can kiss my ass. But he called me up. This was just the other day, and I was Tony Robbins had his week-long free deal, 3-hour, 2.5-hour day, free deal this past week. And it came across my radar right when I'd made some choices. I'd said, okay, enough's enough with some bullshit. I've got some bullshit going on here that I'm going to fucking fix if it's the last thing I do. Because I've been thinking about time a lot lately. Time's really on my head.
Yeah.
And it's ticking, bro. and and everything they ever said about as you get older, it starts ticking faster. That shit's true. That shit's so fucking true, dude. And you know, if you study stoicism at all, you keep that on your mind. And so he called up and he said, we hadn't talked in a while, and he's like, "Hey man, what are you up to?" And I said, "Man, I'm just getting better." He said, "Because that's what I'm going to say from now on."
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, I mean, what's wrong? You all right?
Yeah.
You've been sick?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, other than the obvious shit, no. But I'm just, I just went through the Tony Robbins thing, you know, today. I'm on some things." And he was like, "Yeah." And he started kind of hemming and hawing. I was like, "Listen, man, my problem is not, and has never been, and regardless of some of the fucked up shit I went through as a kid, my problem has always been, regardless of that, with minimal effort, I can do better than about 96% of people
Come on.
in just about any fucking thing.
Go get it.
Just roll out there. Give me a ball of any sort. If it rolls or bounces, right?
Yes.
Or you can throw it or hit it. Or I'm better than 96% of you motherfuckers walking around. I don't care what it is. 97. It may be more. Okay. School, work, starting a band, starting a podcast. Shit's just easy. Like, don't, and I'm sitting here going, what? No, that's not good enough. It's not good enough to want to do all these things and do some things and do them all pretty good. That's not good enough. So that's where I'm at right now. And so whether it be my body, working on my body.
Yes.
I've worked out more in the past 2 weeks, and I've worked out in the past 10 years. Whether it be my body or my mind or my work or this thing. That's Jake. I think I texted you last week and I said, "Boy, if it hair lifts the Pope, we're going to start having some podcasts again, because I have too much fun doing the stuff." And that's why I thought of you first, Alimi, because, you know, because I wanted your energy and your mind and your beautiful fucking face to be on here staring at me, you know, and me telling you where I'm at, because I know what I'm telling you. I know you hear me.
Yes, sir.
And I know you support me.
Yes, sir.
And
1000%. And that's on the low spectrum.
Well, when I was at your birthday, man, I mean, that made a huge impact, because look, I mean, a lot of people know that physically I've been through a lot in the past, how many years, you know, physically I may look okay, but it's been pretty rough.
Yeah.
And you're the one dude that grabbed a hold of me and put your head against mine and prayed like a sumbitch for me to my face, for God and everybody around your table at your house to see for your birthday. You made a moment about me, which you didn't have to do, you know, and you know me, I was at first feeling a little uncomfortable, and then all of a sudden I really started feeling you, and it hit me. And I haven't stopped. I think about it all the time. I think I've got people that are sending me energy.
Yeah.
I got people that are sending me vibes
all the time.
And it's like that old quote, I asked God for strength and he gave me challenges.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. So, you know, I just want to thank you for doing that for me, because listen, you two have to understand something. This motherfucker right here, I'll just be sitting around, be at work, be whatever. We won't talk for a couple weeks, maybe a month or something like that. All of a sudden, beep, I get a message, and it's not a text. It's like a minute and a half of him firing me up verbally, a recording of him getting me, sending it at me from afar. Be in New Zealand. Here it is, coming at you, coming in hot. I thought about you, and here's what I'm going to do. And more people need to do that shit for other people. And I'm trying to do that stuff for people. I've been writing people more personal notes. I've been just reaching out, saying hey to people. I've been doing things. And dude, you're an inspiration for that. Because that stuff comes around. So that's where I'm
gonna
at
say,
right
let
now.
me say something. Let me stop
That's
talking.
where I'm at. I'm
Stop
done.
talking. Stop talking. We're guys, and you're alpha. We're all alphas, probably.
Yes. The
you
group
know.
on this. Yes. Yes.
So I've learned a lot, by my wife, and how to
Beautiful human, son.
Yes. How to, and my kids have taught me about, that the heart space. And, and because I translated into man talk, how to tell a motherfucker how you feel. Tell that motherfucker, and I'm a curse when I do it. So tell him how you feel, support that dude. If he crosses your mind, so you say you're, better than like 90% of people, just in general. One of those natural things about me is I feel people, bro. And I used to find that shit weird, you know what I mean? And I learned to start acting on it. And I'm being 100% frank with you. A person will cross my heart, which is different from your mind. It feels like they move across your heart. And at that moment, if I pick up the phone and tell you what's in my heart, it always seems to find a person at a point where they're like, motherfucker, why did you leave me that message right then? I've had someone come and say, yo, motherfucker, because the guys that talk like my friends talk like this, nigga, what the fuck you call me for right now? Why'd you call me? Did you hear something? I'm like, no, motherfucker, I was sitting here, I was driving, and you came across my heart, and something special seems to happen when, I hate this word, when I'm obedient to that thing that moves. It feels like the wind moving
It's an apt
across.
word, though. It's an apt word, though. Because
obedient, because you don't always want to reach out.
Well, you're serving it. How about that? Instead of obedient, you're in service to it.
Yeah, and I'm not always touchy-feely. Like I said, that's not, I mean, I am. But
you kind of are, but you say it in a way that makes it easy to receive for somebody like me.
Good.
Okay.
Good. And it's
because I'm like you, I'd feel just a little bit weird about it if it wasn't said the way you say it. But I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, why don't more people do that? Because I sit around all the time. The difference between me and you, at least, I'm trying to do some of this stuff now, but the difference between me and you, for the most part, has to basically be you serve it. It pops up. Bam. You do it.
Right.
You do it right then.
Go. Yes.
I do it. I'll be like, I'll give him a call, and then I'll go back to what I'm doing, and then it's gone, man. It's just gone. The moment's gone. The opportunity's gone.
Stop. You're speaking about something you're bullseyeing something. It's like a thought, it's a wind. It comes through. And if you can, when it comes across your soul, I'm not afraid to pray. And I'm not getting into anyone's religion, your faith, maybe you're Muslim,
whatever,
dude, maybe a Christian. I pray. So whatever you believe in, I'm talking to that. Then you know what I mean? Whatever is in there, I do that. And so, we still pray. My mama raised me like that. There's, I don't consider a text message mumbo jumbo witchcraft, nor that you guys are on this piece of glass and metal and you're really where you are and I'm talking to you. I don't think that's witchcraft either. There's invisible, radio waves, that I can't put in a jar while you can see me and hear me in real time. Maybe there's a fraction of time off, right? So the same way that works, I can send you love. I can think about you. And
fucking bottle that up, dude.
If I can think about you, and I don't even have to call you, I think about you more often than you know. When your wife told me what's going on, I was like, you are my dude. So I've been blessed with friends, male and female, that literally just care about me. I don't give a fuck what's going on, what TV show I'm on, could fucking care less.
Dude, we don't ever talk about that shit.
It never comes up.
It never comes up.
What are you doing now? Never.
Well, I was talking. I don't. Who was I talking to? My niece Ashley, who was out one time you met. She came by your house, and I'd said something about. I don't know. You came up somehow. I was like, I think it was right after your birthday. She had called or something. And I was like, I was at Alimi's for his birthday, and she's like, oh, how's he doing? It's like, it's great. He's he's the fucking man.
Right.
Love that guy. And she's like, what's he working on now? I don't fucking know.
I don't fucking know.
I don't fucking know.
If I don't drive
Like,
by this guy on the side of a
look,
bus, I don't know. It doesn't come up in our talks.
I was like, it's like we talk about that as much as we talk about my business, my professional business. We don't.
Yes. No.
We talk about
how you doing.
We talk about how you doing. We talking about when we're going to get together, when we're going to hang out,
Right.
when we're going to do something. You know, it just never comes up. And I think again, dude, and it never once occurred to me to give a fuck that you're a celebrity. You're a dude, man.
What is that word even? What is that?
Well, it means what it means. You're famous. I mean, but it's.
I have a job.
I
like
learned
you got a job.
right, but I just mean that. And George is the same way I am about it. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that it's not abnormal for somebody to have an attachment to that as a thing.
Right.
For actors, musicians,
athletes,
things like they see you on, the many big shows that you've been on,
Queen
and
of the
the
South,
roles
there
as
you go.
Queen of the South. They see you on something like that, and you got this big role where you're playing this bad motherfucker who's killing people and shoot people in the head, doing all this stuff, and it's like you're like, oh man, it's just like you might be surprised to find out that's just a dude who's really good at a certain job, who's worked really hard to be good to be able to get paid at a certain job, no worse than anybody else.
That's right.
Now, are there people out there that in your profession that view themselves that way? Yes, there are people in my profession that view themselves that way. Okay. All right. Yeah. And I'm just in the billboard business.
Dude, stop it. You make me stop it.
But it's true.
Yeah.
Guys, if there are people in my business, their heads jammed straight up their own ass, and all they can smell is their own shit.
I work with them every day, Todd.
Well, and that's what I remember you telling me a story. We have talked about some stuff a few times. One time you were laying on me that a particular job, and I'm not going to name it because that would be bad. I know. Yeah, I know better. Better. A particular job was very challenging because of certain personalities.
Yeah.
And you're playing a major role in this production. See, I'll even make it more ambiguous.
I like that. I love
more
you.
Ambiguous. And you knew that every day you showed up, you had to bring 100% of everything you had in your good juju vibe.
Yes.
To just make the set work right.
Yeah.
Because everybody was fucking just like, make it be over faster. But you were like, no, it ain't going to go down like that. I'm going to make this a good experience down to the last tech person, everything. And it was the hardest job you ever had in acting. And I was like, but dude, that says so much about you and what you bring to the table, because that's what you're about.
Yes. To be transparent and clear. Yes. I won't even act like that's not what I'm about. That's literally what I'm about. Creating.
Well, the times that
Go ahead.
when we've been out, we've been out to basketball games, restaurants. I've seen people walk up to you and go, "Oh my goodness, hey, can I get my picture with you or talk to you?" And I've been around a fair number of celebrities that don't have that attitude. Everybody that came up to us, Alimi, you're like, yeah, come on over, and friendly and loving and caring and showing respect. And I always thought that was a very humble, respectful attitude that, unfortunately, and again, it's not just limited to Hollywood where this happens.
Right.
There are,
Dude, I saw that the second day we were ever together in Italy, in Florence. We're walking the streets of Florence. That's when Numbers was at its peak.
Yes.
Okay. Numbers was like final 2 seasons, right?
Yes.
And we're walking around Florence. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's motherfuckers coming out of the woodwork going, bah! And
Germany.
he
Yes.
acknowledged them all. Okay,
Yes.
where
Yep.
that was is it German?
The Germans. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't
No,
interrupt.
but he acknowledged them all with loving
Yes.
kindness, man. Just had time for anybody. And I was like, no, dude, these are the kind of people I want in my life right here. These are the kind of people. I don't want people not like that in my life, because I couldn't give shit all what they're loving on him for.
You're not built like that. You're from Kentucky.
Okay,
You're not built like that at all.
But it's screaming something.
Yeah.
It was so honest. It was so authentic.
You said your buddy asked you what you do, and you said you're getting better. Your buddy called you.
Yep.
And I had a buddy call me, and this is after listening to the Joe Dispenza, shortly before I sent it to you. And my buddy Malik calls. He's like, "Hey, bro, what's up, man? What you doing?" You know what I told him? I said, "I'm healing." I said, "What?" I said, "I'm healing, bro. I'm in the process of healing all of those places inside. Just like you said, you're getting better. I listened to those podcasts. I listened to that. And I'm like, what I'm literally doing is healing. And if it's possible to extend that out to anywhere I am, I'm fucking doing that. Period."
There
Beautiful.
you go, man. And it's funny because I'll put a bow on the Dispenza deal. The last thing I wrote down, he said, when Ed Milet was talking to him about how kind he is, and what he's just a guy, he's so nice and all these, he's just a humble guy. And he said the ability to see potential in people leads to kindness. I was like, dude, that guy gets it.
He's that guy. All these books we've talked about, I've read, As a Man Thinketh, Think and Grow Rich, and I love them all. I'm finding such great joy in seeing how each human translates very often the same truth. And it's through their translation that I can receive it even better. The way Napoleon Hill talks, the way Khalil Gibran talks, the way Ed Milet talks, the way Joe Dispenza talks, Eric Thomas talks, the way my mom talked. When they're on, they're hitting that note of the truth.
Yeah.
Depending on how they say it, it can just get in there. And when you're on and you're in that space, that vibration, man, when you're in that flow of truth, healing, just fucking simple goodness, man. Depending on how it's being said or depending on where you are in your life, it gets right in there. So I'm on healing, bro. That's what I'm doing. And I'm getting that out there every which way I can. And I'm listening for the best ways to get it out there. Because what I know, if that reaches critical mass, healing, I'm gonna say that again. What I know, if that reaches critical mass, healing in the human spirit, and don't go around thinking you're insignificant. Fuck that. Don't think you can't be part of the chain of people that allows it, that helps it to reach critical mass. This planet is going to walk through a door to this one thing that every so often a sage or a spiritualist sees this world that seems unattainable from where we are right now. It seems beyond impossible. But if that ever reaches critical mass, and when it does, this planet Earth, God's Earth, this one little rock that we're all sharing, no matter what anybody else thinks, there ain't no spare Earth. We'll walk into a doorway of beauty, of love, the likes of which humanity has never seen. And I'm living for that. I know I won't be there, but I'm living for it. I'm living for that. So I'm about that. And I don't give a fuck. That's what I'm about.